We don't need to rewrite the Declaration of Independence. We don't need to rewrite the Constitution. We need to enforce the Constitution of the United States of America. But they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what conservatives believe. But there's an element out there called liberals who believe that life should be controlled by another person who may want to kill that unborn baby. We don't believe that. The liberals want to reduce our liberties with too much regulation, too much legislation, and too much taxation. And the pursuit of happiness as a result of this liberal attack on America is making the pursuit of happiness more and more and more difficult. Our job, our task, is to make the pursuit of happiness real again. Not for us, but for our grandchildren. And the last time I checked, you see, it ain't about us. It's about the grandchildren. And the last time I checked on this American ideal called the pursuit of happiness, it didn't say anything about a Department of Happy in Washington, D.C. My dad didn't expect a Department of Happy when he walked off of that small farm. He had his belief in God, his belief in himself, and his belief in the greatest country in the world. And I have an announcement for the liberals. We are an exceptional nation, and we are going to keep it that way. We have a moral crisis. We have a national security crisis. Does anybody in here know what our mission is in Libya? I don't. The American people don't know. We have an economic crisis. We have an entitlement spending crisis. Oh, I know that you've heard a lot in the media about we have a spending crisis. No, it's bigger than that. They're trying to trim around the edges. They've got to address entitlements as well if we're going to really do something about this problem. We have an energy crisis. The thing about it is we have the resources to become energy independent. We have the resources. So it puzzles me why our president is in Brazil loaning them $2 billion and promising that we are going to be one of their best customers for oil. He's got it the other way around. We ought to develop our own oil right here. It's already here in the United States of America. Energy independence is a reality. It can happen if we get government out of the way. We have an immigration crisis. The reason that no progress has been made is quite simple. It's not one problem. It's 4 problems. We got 4 problems relative to immigration. We must secure the border, enforce the laws that are there, promote the path to citizenship that's already there. We just need to clean up the bureaucracy. We don't need a new path to citizenship. Use the one that we already have. And the 4th problem we have is, what do we do about the illegal aliens that are already here? I believe you empower the states to do what the federal government will not and cannot do. Empower the states to deal with that problem on their own. And then our 7th crisis amongst our crises is DOL, not Department of Labor, a severe deficiency of leadership. A deficiency of leadership. You all will notice that I don't try to be politically correct. I'm just trying to be correct. Now let me give you 3 tips on how to have a conversation with a liberal that will listen. I discovered this being on the radio, and they would call me up and they would challenge me, Dean. on something that I will have said. Liberals, I have figured out, they only have 3 tactics. Now, their objective in every case is destruction of something that we believe in. But they only have 3 tactics. And the next time you get in a conversation with one, or if you listen to somebody on the radio going at it with a liberal and between a liberal and a conservative, listen for these 3 tactics. I call them the sin tactics. S-I-N. Their first tactic is they shift the subject. If they don't have a logical argument for what it is that you're proposing, well, what do you think ought to be done in Afghanistan? Well, Bush got us into Iraq. We are not talking about Iraq. They shift the subject every time. Secondly, they ignore the facts. They ignore the facts. Fact. Nearly $1 trillion in spending has not turned this economy around. But they are ignoring the fact that spending has failed. We cannot spend our way to prosperity. We must grow our way to prosperity with direct stimulus by allowing workers to keep more money in their paycheck, allow businesses to keep more of their money on their P&L, and get government out of the way and stop overtaxing us, and we can stimulate the economy. That's direct stimulus, not indirect stimulus. They ignore the facts. President Obama sold the American people, at least he didn't sell all of us, on the stimulus spending by saying a lot of it was going to be used for shovel-ready projects. Then a year and a half later, had the audacity to say there's no such thing as shovel-ready projects. How stupid does he believe we are? We ain't that stupid. It is an insult to the American people. They ignore the facts. Unemployment is going to come down below 8%. No, it hasn't. This economy is in a recovery. No, it's not. It has stabilized. They ignore the fact that this economy is not truly on a turnaround. Not when our GDP growth last year was 2.6%. The year before that, annualized, it was 2.1. And when China is growing at 10% per year on a smaller base, in 15 to 20 years, they are going to have a GDP the same as ours. I consider that a national security threat. We have got to outgrow China, not sing kumbaya with them. And the third thing, they shift the subject. They ignore the facts. And they name call. You know, I've been affiliated with the Tea Party movement, the Citizens Movement, American Prosperity, the Fair Tax Movement. All of those I've been affiliated with. And because I describe myself, I don't like for people to label me. So I label myself. This is America. So I used to tell my callers, when they wanted to call up and assign a label to me, I would say, no, let me tell you how I describe Herman Cain. I am an American, black, conservative, and ABC, and I'm proud of it. That's the label of one. If you want to use a label, I'm an ABC. And because I've been affiliated with the conservative movement in this country and had the audacity to go on radio and do a radio talk show and promote conservative principles, I've been called a racist too. Go figure. Whenever a reporter says, but you've never held public office before. And I say, well, all of the people in Washington, D.C., they've held public office before. How's that work?